Okay, in this short video I want to discuss the postmodern notion of a material morality as being really the lowest common denominator morality that a culture can settle down into when they've given up any pursuit of the truth, okay, in the sense of an objective correlative state of affairs that doesn't change when you look away. So the best way to think about this is to think about, let's pick 7 religious groups, okay? I just call them A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You get the idea. 7, clumps of people out here that give themselves different names: religion A, religion B, religion C, morality A, morality B, morality C. Okay, so someone might come to one of those groups of the 7 and say, how do you know that your morality is the right one, or your picture of truth is the right picture? And they will say, well, we have a certain logic that we adhere to. Now, logic is tricky because, there are some very basic rules that no one can break and still maintain meaning in communication. So that, all 7 of these are going to be logical in one sense, but they must start with presuppositions. That they build their system off presuppositions, and the presuppositions are starting points. And since they're starting points, you don't use the rules of logic to check them out. You use the rules of truth. So think of the very notion there is an afterlife. Well, is that illogical? No, because logic talks about how you intertwine more than one conclusion, or more than one proposition to form conclusions. So, then you ask yourself, well, how do I know that these presuppositions are true of this religion A, or this set B, this set C, this group of people D? And so they might try to convince you by various ways, and they might bring authoritative voices to bear on the issue. Okay, but then let's say there's another group out there, group F or E or B, that actually hold contradictory principles or notions that contradict with group A. So both can't be true, right? Now there might be another group that holds contrary notions. So actually both of those could be false. So there's at least one of them is false here. There's probably more than one group that's false. Now if you do find a group that holds a certain set of views, and then you find another group that holds contradictory set of views, you know that one of the two has to be false. That's just the rule of logic. So then what you have to settle down with is try to figure out which one of these groups is actually holding false doctrine, which one is false. And how do you do that? So you go and you look and you ask for the group's evidence, and they give you some, but you can see how it can be interpreted different ways. So you ask for the reason why they interpret the evidence the way they do, and they may point you to a cadre or a group of authoritative voices. Their leaders, their prophets, their priests, their shamans, their spokespeople. And they say these people have led us. These people have told us that this is so. And so you have a group of authoritative voices. Now it doesn't have to be that. The authoritative voices may just be the intellectual, the intelligentsia of that group, and the ones that are critically assessing, they're publishing, they're writing, and people have just sort of taken them as the voice. The core question is, how can you figure out which one of conflicting authorities is right? And the average person is not going to spend a lot of time on this. They're going to basically say, this is sort of the gut wrench, unless you were brought up in the tradition or somehow have become convinced by some sort of mystical or miraculous, these terms are slipping me, but some sort of outside forceful shock and awe conversion, okay, which is fairly rare, okay. But if the average person is going to say, you know what, I'm just going to sort of bracket all of these, and I'm not going to really listen to any one of them all because they don't seem to be making much sense to me. I just don't know which one is actually true. And obviously, if one or more of these were obviously false, why do they have the amount of followers they have? So many people think theirs is true, and as opposed to some other system. And maybe I'll just bracket all the systems, and I've got to find an ethic that settles down on the lowest common denominator. And I suggest to you that one of the most basic denominators is the human body or material possession. And so I think that postmodern culture is going to eventually, when it comes to push and shove, live their life along the lines of the notion of don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt them physically or materially. Try not to hurt them emotionally, but just do no harm in that way, okay? Which allows you, if you think about it, to do many a devious practice with someone if that person agrees to it. All right. It also allows you to be a very sophisticated robber in good conscience, because as long as you know that person's diamonds or car or whatever is insured, okay, then does anybody really lose when you take it? And you say, well, the insurance company has to dish it out. Yes, but I know, but the sense is the insurance company really isn't going to hurt that much either, because they're making so much on this. All right, just look at their big buildings. I mean, that's the idea behind the sort of simplistic analysis that a person is going to do when that has grown up with these notions but doesn't really know how to recognize them or articulate them. So, I think that one very easy way to do it, just how can you, if you want to try to do good, how do you materially help somebody? Well, give them money, give them a new house, give them airplane tickets, let them win things, give them food, stuff like that. How do you refrain from negative activity? Don't hurt the body. Don't hurt them. If the thing is not insured, don't rob from them. Okay, don't. Now, what about tax fraud? Well, how many people think that the government is actually first perpetrating some sort of devious practice on them by asking them to pay more taxes than they think? So as soon as they can start justifying it that way and say, well, the government is not really going to hurt with this, then their conscience doesn't trouble them when they begin participating in tax fraud, because they don't have a particular individual that looks like them in mind when they do that, and they don't begin to imagine or empathize with the pain of that particular individual when this activity gets levied against that particular individual. So, they're not stealing from anybody. Basically, they're stealing from the government. And who's the government? I don't know. Just some big, vague notion. Okay, so it's Washington, it's Congress and the Senate. Yeah, but look how they drive. Look how they eat. Look how they fly. Look how they dress. These guys are loaded to the hills, to the gills. I mean, so the hill to the gill, right? So just take it from them. It doesn't matter. That's the notion of the lowest common denominator of a material morality. It's like you can do anything as long as you don't genuinely hurt somebody, an individual. And that might explain a lot of activity that happens today if indeed we are in a postmodern culture.